Welcome back to the Echoes of Ihsan podcast. Today we're embarking on a deep dive, a fascinating collection of prophetic sayings. It's about the future of Islam, particularly conflicts and trials to come. We'll be exploring Sunan Abu Dawud Hadith, Book 32, Battles. And you might be thinking, battles, that sounds kind of intense, but don't worry, it actually covers a much wider range of topics than just warfare.
Yeah.
You'll hear about predictions regarding specific cities, the coming of the Dajjal, Antichrist, and the importance of standing up for what's right, even when, things get really tough. Get ready for a thought-provoking journey. It's into Islamic eschatology and maybe even some guidance for navigating those challenging times.
That's right. While the book's title might initially, lead you to think it's solely focused on warfare, it actually offers a multifaceted exploration of Islamic eschatology. That's the study of end times. It delves into the trials and tribulations that await humanity, the signs of the approaching last hour, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil.
Okay, so let's unpack this. You mentioned trials and tribulations. What exactly does that entail in this context?
Well, the book introduces this concept of wan. It's a term that signifies weakness, enervation, or a loss of moral compass. Essentially, it refers to a state of spiritual and societal decline, where individuals become easily swayed by worldly desires and lose sight of their core values.
That's pretty chilling. It feels incredibly relevant to today's world with all its pressures and uncertainties, don't you think?
Absolutely. Hadith 4284, it specifically highlights the love for the world and the fear of death as contributing factors to this state of wan. Think about it. When we prioritize material possessions and fear the inevitable end of our physical existence, we become vulnerable to manipulation and lose sight of our spiritual purpose.
It's like we get so caught up in the distractions and anxieties of daily life that we forget what truly matters. It makes you wonder, how does this idea of wan manifest in modern society?
We see its echoes in the rampant materialism that pervades our culture. This relentless pursuit of wealth and status, often at the expense of ethical values. The constant fear-mongering by media and those in power. That also plays a role. It keeps people in a state of anxiety and prevents them from thinking critically. And then there's the erosion of moral principles, that blurring of lines between right and wrong, which creates a sense of moral disorientation.
So it's not just about individual weakness, but a collective societal shift towards values that ultimately lead to this wan. This paints a pretty bleak picture, but are there any glimmers of hope amidst all this?
Absolutely. Even in the midst of trials and tribulations, there's always hope and guidance. Hadith 42 for instance, offers a reassuring concept. Allah will raise a reformer at the end of every 100 years who will essentially revitalize the faith. Imagine it like a spiritual renewal, a wave of positive change sweeping through the Muslim community, rekindling the flame of faith and inspiring people to reconnect with their core values.
That's fascinating. So every century there's a chance for a fresh start, a reawakening of sorts. Can you give us some examples of historical figures who might fit this description?
Well, pinpointing specific individuals is a complex task, as there's room for interpretation. But if we look back through Islamic history, we can see figures who played significant roles in revitalizing the faith during their respective eras. Consider Imam al-Ghazali in the 11th century, a towering intellect who challenged stagnant theological thought and breathed a new life into Islamic philosophy and spirituality. Or Shah Waliullah Dahlawi in the 18th century, who sought to reform Islamic practices and bridge the gap between traditional Islamic scholarship and the challenges of the modern world. Each of these figures, in their own way, contributed to a period of renewal, sparking intellectual discourse, inspiring social reforms, and ultimately strengthening the Muslim community.
It's like they acted as catalysts for positive change, reminding people of the core principles of Islam and guiding them back to a more authentic understanding of their faith. So we have the cyclical renewal on one hand, and then the concept of wan, or decline, on the other. Are there any specific events or prophecies mentioned in the book that relate to this idea of societal decline?
Yes. The hadiths we're exploring don't just talk about abstract concepts. They also offer specific predictions regarding particular cities and the events that might unfold within them. For example, hadiths 4281, 4282, and 4283 paint a rather dramatic picture of the future, particularly focusing on Jerusalem, Yathrib, Medina, and Constantinople.
Hold on. Jerusalem, Medina, Constantinople, those are some major cities with immense historical and religious significance. What do these hadiths say about their fates?
They seem to suggest a sequence of events, a kind of domino effect, where one event triggers the next. First, they indicate that Jerusalem will flourish, experiencing a period of growth and prosperity, while Yathrib, the prophet's city, will unfortunately fall into ruin. Then they foreshadow a major war that will lead to the conquest of Constantinople, a city that has long held strategic importance.
That's a pretty intense timeline. What's particularly fascinating is the interconnectedness of it all. One city rises, another falls, war breaks out, and Constantinople is conquered. It makes you wonder, what's the driving force behind this chain of events?
Well, the Hadiths link these events to the emergence of the Dajjal, a figure often interpreted as the Antichrist. According to these prophecies, after Constantinople falls, the Dajjal will appear, marking a period of great tribulation and deception.
So the Dajjal is at the center of it all. It's interesting how these hadiths connect specific geographical locations and historical events to this apocalyptic figure. It really raises the stakes and makes you think about the broader implications of these prophecies.
Absolutely. These prophecies have been the subject of much discussion and debate among scholars over the centuries. Their interpretations continue to evolve as history unfolds, and they serve as a reminder of the constant interplay between faith, history, and the human condition.
This all sounds quite daunting, to be honest. We're talking about major upheavals, the rise and fall of cities, and the arrival of a figure like the Dajjal. It begs the question, what does this mean for everyday Muslims just trying to live their lives?
That's a crucial question, and one that the Hadiths address. In the face of these impending trials, the book emphasizes the importance of unity and seeking refuge in God. Hadith 4285, for instance, mentions a gathering of Muslims in Al-Ghuta near Damascus. This location, known for its fertile lands and strategic position, is described as the place of assembly for the Muslim community during a time of war.
So even amidst conflict, there's this idea of unity and collective strength.
Precisely. Imagine a vast plain near Damascus, teeming with life and offering a sense of security. That's Al-Ghuta. It symbolizes the resilience of the Muslim community even in the face of adversity, their ability to find refuge and support in one another during times of crisis.
It's a powerful image, a reminder that even when surrounded by conflict, the bonds of faith and community can provide strength and solace. However, this raises an important question. If there's this gathering of Muslims in Al-Ghuta during a time of war, does that imply that the Muslim community will ultimately be destroyed by external forces?
That's where Hadith 4287 provides a thought-provoking perspective. It suggests that the Muslim community will not be vanquished by outside enemies, but might face a more insidious threat: internal conflict. Imagine a fortress strong and impenetrable from the outside, but vulnerable to decay and collapse from within. That's the message this hadith conveys. It highlights the importance of maintaining unity and avoiding discord within the Muslim community, especially when confronted with external pressures.
So the real danger lies not in outside forces, but in the potential for division and strife within the community itself. That's a powerful message about the responsibility we have to foster understanding and harmony amongst ourselves, especially in the face of external challenges.
Exactly. It's a reminder that our strength lies in our unity, our ability to work together towards common goals, and to support each other through difficult times.
It makes you reflect on the current state of the Muslim world. We see so many divisions and disagreements, often fueled by political agendas or differing interpretations of Islamic teachings. This hadith serves as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of such discord and the importance of prioritizing unity over division.
Absolutely. The challenges we face today are complex and multifaceted, but it's crucial to remember that our strength lies in our collective wisdom, our shared values, and our ability to find common ground despite our differences.
Now, amidst all this talk of potential conflict and internal strife, are there any hadiths that offer a message of peaceful coexistence with those outside the Muslim community?
Yes, in fact, there's one that's particularly relevant in our increasingly interconnected world. Hadith 4288. It advises Muslims to leave the Abyssinians and the Turks alone as long as they reciprocate that respect.
That's intriguing, especially considering the historical context. Could you shed some light on the significance of the Abyssinians and the Turks in relation to early Islam?
Certainly. The Abyssinians played a remarkable role in early Islamic history. When the first Muslims faced persecution in Mecca, they sought refuge in Abyssinia, a Christian kingdom ruled by a just and compassionate king known as the Negus. He offered them protection and allowed them to practice their faith freely, demonstrating remarkable tolerance and understanding. This act of kindness cemented a bond of respect between Muslims and Abyssinians, and this hadith reinforces that peaceful coexistence.
It's a beautiful testament to the power of compassion and interfaith harmony, even in the midst of religious and political tensions. And what about the Turks? What was their relationship with the Muslim community at the time?
At the time this hadith was revealed, The Turks represented a powerful force on the periphery of the Islamic world. They were a nomadic people known for their military prowess, and while they hadn't yet embraced Islam, they posed a potential threat to the burgeoning Muslim community. This advice to leave them alone suggests a pragmatic approach to maintaining peace and stability, avoiding unnecessary conflict, and focusing on consolidating the Muslim community's strength.
It's a wise strategy. It's like saying, let's focus on building our own community, establishing our own values, and avoid getting entangled in unnecessary conflicts with those who don't pose a direct threat. It seems like a timeless principle that holds value even in today's world.
Absolutely. It highlights the importance of choosing our battles wisely, prioritizing diplomacy over aggression, and seeking peaceful solutions whenever possible.
So far, we've explored a range of themes: the cyclical renewal of Islam, the concept of one and its manifestations in modern society, the prophecies regarding Jerusalem, Medina, and Constantinople, and the importance of unity within the Muslim community and peaceful coexistence with those outside the faith. It's been quite a journey, and I'm eager to hear what other insights these hadiths offer.
Well, our journey into Sunan Abu Dawud, Book 32, continues with a deeper exploration of specific locations and the trials and tribulations that are prophesied to occur within them. Our next stop takes us to Basra, a city in modern-day Iraq with a rich history and a fascinating future, at least according to these prophetic sayings.
Ooh, Basra, a city steeped in history and culture. I'm intrigued. What do these hadiths reveal about its destiny?
Hadiths 4292 and 4293 offer glimpses into the future of Basra, painting a rather contrasting picture of its potential trajectory.
Contrasting. How so?
Hadith 4292 portrays Basra as a flourishing city strategically located on low-lying ground near a river, a hub of activity and growth for the Muslim community. Imagine a bustling marketplace, vibrant with trade and commerce, mosques filled with worshippers, and scholars engaging in lively debates about Islamic teachings. That's the image this hadith evokes: a city thriving under the banner of Islam. However, it also foretells of an invasion by a group known as the descendants of Kantura, a group shrouded in mystery and ambiguity.
Descendants of Kantura. I must confess I've never heard of them. Who are they?
Their exact identity remains a source of debate among scholars. Some believe they refer to a specific tribe or group that existed during the Prophet's time, while others interpret them more symbolically as representing hostile forces that might emerge in the future. Regardless of their specific identity, the hadith suggests that they will pose a serious threat to Basra, disrupting its peace and prosperity.
So we have this image of a flourishing Basra, and then suddenly the descendants of Kantura appear, bringing conflict and upheaval. It sounds like things could get pretty dire. How do the people of Basra react to this invasion?
The hadith describes a rather poignant scene. Faced with this overwhelming threat, the people of Basra are divided into three groups. One group, fearing for their lives, chooses to flee into the vast, unforgiving desert, seeking safety in its anonymity. However, the harsh desert conditions prove too much for them, and they ultimately perish. Another group, hoping to avoid bloodshed, opts for a more diplomatic approach. They attempt to negotiate with the invaders, seeking to secure their position and protect their interests. But their efforts prove futile, and they too meet a tragic end.
It's heartbreaking to imagine those scenes of desperation and despair as people try to survive in the face of such adversity. But what about the third group? What happens to them?
The third group, driven by a deep sense of faith and loyalty to their city, chooses a path of resistance. They decide to stand and fight, placing their children behind them for protection, a poignant symbol of their commitment to defending their homes and their faith, even at the risk of their own lives.
It's a powerful image. Those who choose to stand their ground despite overwhelming odds, what becomes of them?
Their unwavering courage and selflessness elevates them to a special status. They become martyrs, their sacrifice a testament to their faith, and a beacon of inspiration for future generations.
It's a story of resilience and sacrifice, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, the human spirit can find strength in faith, community, and a willingness to defend what is most precious. You mentioned that Hadiths 4292 and 4293 paint a contrasting picture of Basra's future. So far, we've only heard about the invasion and the people's reaction to it. What else is revealed?
Hadith 4293 shifts the focus from external threats to internal challenges and potential natural disasters. It warns against certain areas within the city, urging people to avoid specific locations, like the salt marshes, a place called Khal, the bustling marketplace, and the gate where the city's commanders reside.
It's interesting how the Hadith pinpoints these specific locations. Is there any particular significance to them?
While the exact reasons for avoiding these places remain open to interpretation, they seem to represent areas of potential danger or vulnerability. The salt marshes, for instance, could symbolize a place of stagnation and decay, while the marketplace, despite its vibrancy, could represent a place of temptation and worldly distractions. The gate of the commanders might symbolize the dangers of political power and the potential for corruption.
So it's not just about physical locations, but about the symbolic meanings they represent. The pitfalls of worldly pursuits, the allure of power, and the importance of staying grounded in one's faith amidst these temptations.
Exactly. But the warnings don't stop there. This hadith also mentions a series of natural disasters that might befall the city. It speaks of earthquakes that could shake its foundations, torrential rains that could flood its streets, and a rather peculiar phenomenon where some people will transform into apes and swine.
Wait, apes and swine? That's unexpected, to say the least. What's the meaning behind this transformation?
It's undoubtedly one of the more perplexing aspects of this hadith. However, it's likely intended as a symbolic representation of moral decay and spiritual degradation. Imagine a society where individuals succumb to their basest desires, losing their sense of humanity and becoming consumed by greed, lust, and aggression. That's the chilling message conveyed by this transformation. It suggests that some inhabitants of Basra might stray from the path of righteousness, their hearts hardened, their souls corrupted, ultimately losing their human essence.
It's a stark warning about the consequences of moral and spiritual decline. So on one hand, we have this image of Basra as a flourishing center of Islam, a place of refuge and prosperity. But on the other hand, it's threatened by both external forces in the form of invaders and internal corruption leading to moral decay and even natural disasters.
Exactly. It highlights the duality of prophecies, the complex interplay between external forces and internal choices, and the constant need for vigilance and spiritual grounding, even in seemingly prosperous times.
It's a reminder that no city, no community, no individual is immune to the challenges and temptations that life throws our way. It's about recognizing that even amidst external threats, the real battle often lies within ourselves. The struggle to stay true to our values, to resist temptations, and to maintain our spiritual integrity.
You've captured it perfectly. The prophecies surrounding Basra serve as a microcosm of the broader challenges facing humanity. They remind us that true strength lies not just in physical might or material prosperity, but in the resilience of the human spirit, the power of faith, and the unwavering commitment to justice, compassion, and righteousness.
It's a message that resonates deeply, even centuries after these prophecies were revealed. But before we delve into the next chapter of these prophetic sayings, are there any other hadiths that offer further context or insights into the events we've discussed so far?
Yes, before we move on, it's worth mentioning two hadiths that offer some additional perspectives. Hadith 4294 speaks about the martyrs from the Mosque of Al-Ashar. It states that they will rise with the martyrs of Badr on the Day of Judgment, a significant honor considering the Battle of Badr's pivotal role in early Islamic history.
Al-Ashar. Where is that mosque located?
Unfortunately, the exact location of this mosque is lost to history. Despite the lack of a physical location, its spiritual significance remains. It's a reminder that sometimes the most important places aren't marked on maps, but reside in the hearts and memories of those who cherish their history and their faith.
It's a beautiful thought, the idea that even though a physical structure might disappear, its spiritual essence can endure through the stories and traditions passed down through generations.
Exactly. Now, the other hadith I wanted to mention is Hadith 4295. It reiterates the advice to leave the Abyssinians alone and adds an intriguing prophecy about an Abyssinian taking treasure from the Kaaba, the holiest site in Islam.
The Kaaba. That's quite a bold statement.
Oh.
What's the significance of an Abyssinian taking treasure from such a sacred place?
It's a prophecy that has sparked much discussion and debate among scholars. Some interpret it literally foreseeing a future event, where an individual from Abyssinia might attempt to violate the sanctity of the Kaaba. Others view it more symbolically, suggesting a potential betrayal or a violation of sacred values, perhaps by someone who was once trusted or respected.
So it's open to interpretation like many of these prophecies. It could be a literal event or a symbolic representation of a deeper betrayal.
Precisely. It's a reminder that prophecies often operate on multiple levels, blending historical events, symbolic imagery, and moral lessons to guide and warn future generations.
These hadiths offer a fascinating blend of historical insights, warnings about potential trials, and glimpses into the complex nature of human choices and their consequences.
You've summed it up perfectly. And as we move forward, we'll delve into perhaps the most intriguing and enigmatic figure in Islamic eschatology, the Dajjal. Prepare yourself for the prophecies we're about to explore, offer a chilling glimpse into the depths of his deception, his power, and the trials he will bring upon humanity.
I'm both fascinated and a little terrified, to be honest. But try it on. Let's unravel the mysteries surrounding the Dajjal and see what insights we can glean from these ancient prophetic sayings.
Now, let's shift our focus to the enigmatic figure of the Dajjal, a figure shrouded in mystery and intrigue. The hadiths we're about to explore provide a detailed look at his appearance, his deceptive powers, and the trials he'll bring upon humanity, offering a glimpse into a period of great tribulation and deception.
Okay, I'm ready to delve into this, but first let's start with the basics. What does the Dajjal actually look like? I have to admit, I'm picturing a stereotypical, uh, devilish figure with horns and a pitchfork.
Not quite. The hadiths paint a different picture, one that emphasizes his human-like qualities, making his deception all the more insidious. Hadiths 4305 and 4306 offer a more nuanced description, cautioning us against relying on appearances alone. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, warned his followers that the Dajjal would be a man of short stature with curly hair, seemingly ordinary at first glance. However, he would have a distinct physical defect, a flaw in one of his eyes. It specifically mentioned that his eye would be neither protruding nor deep-seated, a detail that might seem trivial, but holds a deeper significance.
So not the typical Hollywood villain then, but this detail about his eye being neither protruding nor deep-seated is a bit specific. Is there any symbolic meaning behind that detail?
Absolutely. It's a subtle but important point. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was emphasizing that the Dajjal's physical imperfections are not his defining characteristic. His true danger lies not in his appearance, but in his ability to deceive people's minds and hearts. He's a master manipulator, a wolf in sheep's clothing, who preys on people's vulnerabilities, their desires, their fears, and their insecurities. He might appear ordinary, even flawed, but beneath that facade lies a cunning intellect and a heart consumed by darkness.
It's a chilling thought. His physical appearance is almost a distraction from his true nature. It's a reminder to look beyond the surface, to be discerning about who and what we follow, and to recognize that true evil often hides behind a mask of normalcy. So if his appearance is deceptive, what are his methods? How does he actually go about deceiving people?
One of the most striking aspects of the Dajjal, as described in the Hadiths, is his ability to perform seemingly miraculous feats. Imagine a world where the impossible becomes possible, where the laws of nature are bent to his will. That's the kind of power the Dajjal is said to wield.
Wait, so he can perform miracles? But isn't that the domain of prophets, a sign of divine favor? How are people supposed to differentiate between true miracles from God and these deceptive tricks of the Dajjal?
That's the crux of the challenge. The Dajjal will use his powers not to guide people towards righteousness, but to mislead them into thinking he is divine. He might bring rain to a parched land, offering relief from drought. He might even appear to resurrect the dead, instilling awe and wonder in those who witness his power. He might offer worldly riches, promising a life of comfort and luxury. All of this is a grand illusion, a carefully orchestrated spectacle designed to sway people from the path of truth and lead them into his clutches.
It sounds like an ultimate test of faith. In a world where everything is constantly vying for our attention, where misinformation spreads like wildfire, and where spectacle often trumps substance, how are people supposed to stay grounded in their beliefs and not be swayed by these deceptive displays of power?
The Hadiths emphasize the importance of seeking refuge in Allah from the Dajjal's trials, and recognizing his deception for what it is, a counterfeit of divine power. It's about strengthening one's faith, holding on to the core principles of Islam, and not being blinded by the allure of worldly temptations or the spectacle of false miracles. It's about cultivating discernment, seeking knowledge from reliable sources, and grounding oneself in the unshakable truths of faith.
So it's about developing that inner compass, that ability to distinguish between what is true and what is false, what is right and what is wrong. Even when the lines are blurred and the world around us seems to be spinning out of control, it's a reminder that true strength lies not in blind faith, but in informed faith, a faith grounded in knowledge, wisdom, and a deep understanding of one's own values and principles.
Exactly. The prophecies surrounding the Dajjal serve as a stark reminder that the path of righteousness is not always easy. It's fraught with challenges, temptations, and tests of faith that demand our constant vigilance and unwavering commitment to truth.
Now, amidst all this talk of the Dajjal's deception and the trials he'll bring, is there any hope? Is there any force that can counter his influence and protect humanity from his clutches?
Yes, the Hadiths offer a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. The return of Jesus, peace be upon him from heaven. Hadith 4310 describes his descent as a monumental event, a sign of God's power and justice. It states that Jesus will descend during a time of great tribulation, a time when the Dajjal's influence has reached its peak, and humanity is on the brink of succumbing to his deception.
This is where things get really interesting, the return of Jesus. It's fascinating how this figure holds significance in both Islam and Christianity, though viewed through different lenses. Can you elaborate on the significance of Jesus in Islamic eschatology?
Certainly. In Islam, Jesus is a revered prophet, born of a virgin birth and endowed with miracles. However, he's not considered the Son of God, as in Christianity, but a messenger of God, a human being chosen to deliver God's message to humanity. His return is seen as a sign of the end times, a testament to God's power and justice, and a fulfillment of prophecy.
So while there are some theological differences in how Islam and Christianity view Jesus, his return is a significant event in both faiths, a point of convergence in their respective eschatological narratives.
Precisely. The hadiths paint a vivid picture of Jesus' role in confronting the Dajjal, highlighting his strength, his righteousness, and his unwavering commitment to truth and justice.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell us more about this epic showdown. What does this confrontation look like?
Hadith 4310 describes Jesus as a man of medium height. With reddish-fair complexion, he'll be wearing 2 light yellow garments, symbolizing purity and humility, and appear as though drops of water are falling from his hair, even though it won't be wet, a sign of his miraculous nature. He'll fight for the cause of Islam, break the cross, kill swine, and abolish the jizya, a tax levied on non-Muslims in Islamic states.
Whoa, breaking the cross, killing swine, those are powerful symbols. What's the meaning behind these actions? Are they meant to be taken literally?
These actions, as described in the Hadith, are likely intended to be understood symbolically, representing the triumph of truth over falsehood and the establishment of justice on earth. The breaking of the cross symbolizes the rejection of idolatry, the purification of faith, and the reaffirmation of the oneness of God, a core principle in Islam. The killing of swine, which are considered impure in Islam, signifies the purification of society from corruption and immorality, the purging of vices that have taken root and poisoned the hearts of humanity.
So it's not just about a physical battle, but a spiritual and moral transformation as well. It's about cleansing the world of falsehood, injustice, and corruption, and restoring it to a state of balance and harmony.
Exactly. It's important to note that according to Islamic belief, Jesus will not come to start a new religion or to abrogate Islam. He'll come to confirm the message of Islam, to unite humanity under the banner of true monotheism, and to guide people back to the path of righteousness.
It's a powerful message of hope and unity, a reminder that even amidst the chaos and deception of the Dajjal's reign, a force for good will emerge, challenging falsehood and restoring balance to the world.
Now, beyond these broad strokes, the hadiths also offer fascinating glimpses into individual encounters with the Dajjal, providing personal narratives that make these abstract concepts more relatable.
I'm eager to hear these personal stories. They always make these seemingly distant prophecies feel more immediate, more real. Which story are we looking at first?
Let's start with Hadith 4311. It recounts the story of Tamim ad-Dari, a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who embarked on a sea voyage and ended up on a mysterious island.
A mysterious island. This sounds like the start of an adventure tale.
It does, doesn't it? On this island, Tamim encountered a strange and alluring woman, known as the Jassasa, the Dajjal's spy.
The Dajjal's spy. So the Dajjal has agents working for him, spreading his influence even before his actual arrival.
It seems so. The Jassa plays a significant role in the Dajjal's deceptive scheme. She acts as a guide, leading unsuspecting individuals towards the Dajjal's domain.
It's interesting how she's portrayed as a woman. It reinforces the idea that deception can come in many forms, and we shouldn't underestimate the power of manipulation regardless of who wields it.
Exactly. The Jassa led Tamim to a castle, a place of immense size and grandeur, where he encountered a man chained in iron collars leaping between heaven and earth. Tamim and his companions recognized this man as the Dajjal, even though his time of tribulation hadn't yet begun.
Wait, so the Dajjal is already around? I thought he was supposed to appear closer to the end times.
That's where things get a bit complex. The hadiths offer differing perspectives on the nature of the Dajjal's existence. Some scholars interpret this hadith literally suggesting that the Dajjal is already present in the world, but confined or hidden, waiting for the right moment to unleash his reign of terror. Others view it more symbolically, seeing the Dajjal as a representation of the forces of evil that are always present in the world, tempting humanity and leading them astray.
So whether the Dajjal is a literal being or a symbolic representation of evil, his influence is already being felt. subtly shaping events and tempting individuals towards darkness. But what's the significance of him being chained and leaping between heaven and earth? That imagery seems pretty intense.
It's indeed powerful imagery. It could be interpreted as a representation of the Dajjal's arrogance and his delusion of grandeur. He's bound by chains, a symbol of his limitations. Yet he desperately tries to transcend his earthly constraints, leaping towards heaven in a futile attempt to claim divine power.
It's like he's trapped between two worlds, unable to fully escape his earthly confines, yet desperately yearning for a power that ultimately eludes him. It's a stark contrast to the humility and servitude that characterize true faith and genuine connection with the divine.
Exactly. Now, in this hadith, Tamim has a conversation with the Dajjal. He asks him if the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has emerged, to which the Dajjal responds affirmatively. He even acknowledges the strength of the Muslim community, admitting that they are his biggest obstacle.
It's almost as if the Dajjal is grudgingly acknowledging the power of faith
Yeah.
and the resilience of the Muslim community. Despite his deceptive powers, he seems to recognize the strength of those who believe and remain steadfast in their commitment to truth and righteousness.
It's a thought-provoking detail that highlights the importance of staying true to one's faith, even in the face of adversity. It suggests that even the Dajjal, with all his power and deception, can't break the spirit of those who are grounded in their beliefs and committed to living a righteous life.
It's a powerful message of hope, a reminder that faith acts as a shield against evil, protecting us from the Dajjal's manipulations and strengthening our resolve to resist his temptations.
Now, let's move on to Hadith 4 through 14, which offers another glimpse into an encounter with the Dajjal, this time involving a group of sailors who landed on an island in search of food and water. Like Tamim, they too encountered the Jassa, the Dajjal's spy, who directed them toward a castle.
It seems that Jahasa plays a recurring role in these stories, acting as a sort of gatekeeper to the Dajjal's domain. It's interesting how certain figures and symbols reappear throughout these hadiths, weaving a complex tapestry of interconnected narratives.
Yes, these recurring motifs add layers of meaning and symbolism to the prophecies, inviting us to delve deeper and explore the subtle connections between seemingly disparate events and characters.
So what happened to these sailors when they reached the castle? Did they encounter the Dajjal himself?
They did. Inside the castle, they found a man chained in iron collars, leaping between heaven and earth. Just as Tamim had described, they recognized him as the Dajjal, his features matching the descriptions given by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
It's interesting how this hadith reinforces the previous account, confirming the Dajjal's appearance and his peculiar behavior. But what's striking is that both stories involve a journey, a venturing into unknown territory, a sense of exploration and discovery. It's almost like these encounters with the Dajjal are symbolic of the journeys we all undertake in life, the challenges we face, the temptations we encounter, and the choices we make that ultimately determine our fate.
That's a profound observation. These stories, while rooted in specific historical and prophetic contexts, can be seen as metaphors for the human experience. They remind us that life is a journey filled with twists and turns, unexpected encounters, and moments that test our faith, our courage, and our commitment to righteousness.
It's about navigating those uncharted waters, discerning between what is true and what is false, and staying true to our values even when surrounded by darkness and deception.
Exactly. Now, here's where things get really intriguing. This hadith connects the Dajjal to a real historical figure, Ibn Sayyad. He was a man who lived during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and exhibited certain traits that led some people to believe he might be the Dajjal.
Wait, so they thought a real person was the Dajjal. What kind of traits are we talking about? What made Ibn Sayyad stand out?
Ibn Sayyad was known for his intelligence, his eloquence, and his somewhat unorthodox views. He was a charismatic figure who challenged conventional thinking and questioned established norms. He also had physical characteristics that resembled the descriptions of the Dajjal, which further fueled speculation about his true identity.
So people were actually debating whether a living person was the embodiment of this apocalyptic figure. That must have been quite a controversial topic.
Absolutely. Hadiths 4-316, 4-317, and 4-318 offer glimpses into this controversy, revealing the differing opinions and perspectives that emerged within the Muslim community. Some companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, like Ibn Umar, were convinced that Ibn Sayyad was the Dajjal, citing his unusual traits and his challenging views as evidence. Others, like Jabir ibn Abdullah, expressed doubts, pointing out that Ibn Sayyad eventually accepted Islam and entered Medina, the Prophet's city.
So even among the Prophet's closest companions, there were differing opinions on Ibn Sayyad's true nature. It's fascinating how these prophecies, even when rooted in specific historical contexts, can be open to interpretation, sparking debate, and challenging people to think critically about their beliefs.
It highlights the complexity of these prophecies and the importance of approaching them with humility and caution. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him himself, didn't definitively confirm or deny Ibn Sayyad's connection to the Dajjal, leaving it as a matter of speculation and individual discernment.
So the true identity of the Dajjal remains shrouded in mystery, a figure both grounded in historical context and transcending it, embodying the timeless struggle between good and evil, truth and falsehood.
Precisely. But even though the exact identity of the Dajjal remains uncertain, the Hadiths offer valuable insights into the nature of his deception, his methods, and the importance of staying vigilant, strengthening our faith, and grounding ourselves in knowledge and wisdom.
It's a wake-up call to be discerning about the information we consume, the leaders we follow, and the temptations we encounter. It's about strengthening our faith, deepening our understanding of Islam, and striving to live a life of integrity guided by principles of justice, compassion, and truth.
You've summed it up perfectly. And as we delve deeper into these hadiths, we'll see that the Dajjal isn't the only threat humanity faces in the end times. There's a broader context of societal decay, false prophets, and moral corruption that we need to be aware of. Challenges that require our collective attention and action.
It sounds like the prophecies are painting a picture of a world teetering on the edge, a world where darkness threatens to engulf the light and humanity faces a choice: to succumb to fear, despair, and division, or to rise above the challenges, strengthen our faith, and work together to create a better future. I'm ready to explore these next chapters and see what insights they offer.
As we journey deeper into Sunan Abu Dawud, Book 32, the prophecies, they reveal a world grappling with not just external threats, like the Dajjal, but also a more insidious internal decay, a decline in morals and values that eats away at the very fabric of society.
Yeah, it's almost like a double-edged sword, isn't it? We have these looming apocalyptic figures like the Dajjal, but then there's this slow erosion of ethics and principles that can be just as damaging in the long run. Where do we even begin to unpack this idea of societal decay?
Well, Hadiths 43:19 and 43:20 offer a stark warning. Numerous false prophets. They'll emerge before the last hour, each claiming to be a messenger of God, preying on people's vulnerabilities and leading them astray.
So it's not just one big bad Dajjal, but a whole wave of imposters, trying to capitalize on people's fears and desires. That paints a pretty chaotic picture, a spiritual minefield where it's hard to know who to trust or what to believe.
Exactly. The Hadiths emphasize the importance of discernment, of separating truth from falsehood, especially in a world that's saturated with information, where access to knowledge doesn't necessarily equate to wisdom.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with messages with claims and counterclaims all vying for our attention and allegiance. It's overwhelming to say the least. How are we supposed to navigate this landscape of deception and find solid footing in truth?
That's where critical thinking comes in, the ability to question everything, to examine the evidence, to not blindly accept what we're told, even if it comes from seemingly authoritative sources.
So it's about taking personal responsibility for our own spiritual growth and understanding, not just outsourcing our beliefs or blindly following charismatic figures.
Precisely. The Hadiths encourage us to engage with our faith intellectually, to seek knowledge from reliable sources, to study the Quran and the Sunnah, to reflect on their meanings, and apply their teachings to our lives. It's about developing an informed faith, a faith that can withstand the storms of doubt and deception.
It makes sense. Blind faith can be easily manipulated, but a faith rooted in knowledge and understanding is more resilient, more able to discern truth from falsehood. But it's not just about individual responsibility, is it? The Hadiths also talk about a more collective obligation to address societal decay.
Yes, they do. Hadiths 4322, 4323, 4324, and 4325 highlight the responsibility of individuals to enjoin good and forbid evil, meaning to actively promote what's right and to speak out against what's wrong, even when it's difficult or unpopular.
So it's not enough to just focus on our own personal piety or spiritual growth. We have a social obligation to make things better, to contribute to a more just and equitable society.
Absolutely. These hadiths challenge us to be agents of positive change, not passive bystanders in the face of injustice, corruption, or moral decay. They remind us that we have a collective responsibility to create a society that reflects our values, a society where justice prevails, compassion flourishes, and truth is upheld.
It's a powerful call to action, A reminder that faith isn't just about personal rituals or beliefs, but about how we live in the world, how we interact with others, and how we contribute to the well-being of our communities and society as a whole. It's about speaking truth to power, holding leaders accountable, and working together to address the root causes of social problems.
You've captured the essence of these teachings. It's about recognizing that we are interconnected, that our actions have ripple effects, and that creating a just and equitable society requires our collective effort.
It's a daunting task, especially when we look around and see so much injustice, so much division, so much suffering in the world. It can feel overwhelming, like our individual efforts are just a drop in the ocean. How do we find the courage and the motivation to keep going, to keep fighting for what's right, even when it feels like an uphill battle?
That's where the next set of hadiths offers some practical guidance. Hadiths 4327, 4328, and 4329 provide advice on navigating times of tribulation and societal decline, emphasizing the importance of maintaining one's faith and integrity amidst chaos and moral ambiguity.
Okay, I'm eager to hear this advice. How do we stay true to ourselves and our values when everything around us seems to be falling apart?
One of the key pieces of advice is to focus on personal development and spiritual growth. Hadith 4327 encourages us to care for ourselves, not in a selfish way, but in a way that nurtures our connection with God, expands our knowledge and wisdom, and strengthens our ability to navigate challenging times.
So in times of turmoil, it's crucial to strengthen our own spiritual foundation, to connect with that inner source of strength and guidance that can help us weather the storms.
Exactly. It's about finding solace and strength in our faith, in prayer, in reflection and the study of sacred texts, and in the company of those who share our values and inspire us to be better versions of ourselves. It's about cultivating inner peace and resilience so that we can face external challenges with clarity and strength.
And what about our interactions with others? How do we navigate relationships and social dynamics when there's so much discord and division, when people are easily swayed by misinformation and manipulated by those seeking power?
Hadith 4328 offers some wise counsel. It advises us to accept what we approve of and to abandon what we disapprove of, suggesting a discerning approach to our interactions. It's about being mindful of the company we keep, the influences we allow into our lives, and the choices we make in how we engage with the world around us. It also encourages us to attend to our own affairs and to leave alone the affairs of the generality, implying a need to prioritize our own well-being and to avoid getting entangled in unnecessary conflicts or drama.
So it's about setting healthy boundaries, focusing on what we can control, and recognizing that we can't fix everything or change everyone. It's about finding that balance between engaging in positive social change and protecting our own mental and emotional well-being. It's a reminder that we can't pour from an empty cup, that we need to nurture our own inner strength and resilience so that we can effectively contribute to the well-being of others.
You've articulated it beautifully. It's about recognizing our limitations, while also acknowledging our responsibility to make a positive impact on the world. It's about finding that sweet spot where our personal growth aligns with our social contributions, creating a virtuous cycle that benefits both ourselves and those around us.
And what about the situations where we feel compelled to speak out against injustice, to challenge those in power, to stand up for what's right even when it comes at a personal cost? How do we navigate those situations effectively and safely?
Hadith 4329 offers a valuable piece of advice. Control your tongue. It doesn't advocate for silence in the face of injustice, but rather emphasizes the importance of speaking out with wisdom, discretion, and a strategic approach. It's about choosing our battles carefully, considering the potential consequences of our actions, and finding the most effective ways to make our voices heard without causing unnecessary harm or jeopardizing our own well-being.
So it's not just about speaking out, but speaking out strategically, using our words wisely, and choosing our actions carefully.
Exactly. It's about maximizing our impact and minimizing potential harm, understanding that sometimes silence can be more powerful than words, and sometimes taking a stand requires immense courage and a willingness to face the consequences.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to wait, when to challenge directly and when to work behind the scenes to effect change. It requires discernment, wisdom, and a deep understanding of the context and the potential consequences of our actions.
Absolutely. And it's a journey of constant learning and growth, a process of refining our understanding of these principles and applying them to the ever-changing circumstances of our lives. The key is to remain grounded in our faith, guided by our principles, and committed to making a positive difference in the world, even in small ways.
It's a lot to take in, but I feel like I'm starting to understand the interconnectedness of these prophecies. They're not just predictions about the future, but a guide for navigating life's challenges, for strengthening our faith, and for contributing to a more just and compassionate world.
You've captured the essence of it. They offer a framework for understanding the forces at play in the world, the challenges we face, and the choices we make that shape our individual and collective destinies.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Sunan Abu Dawud, Book 32, is there a final hadith that encapsulates the essence of what it means to be a true believer in challenging times?
Yes, there is. Hadith 4330 is a powerful statement that highlights the courage and conviction required to live a righteous life, particularly when confronted with oppressive forces. It states that speaking truth to an oppressive ruler is the best form of jihad, or struggle.
Wow, that's a bold statement. It elevates speaking truth to power to the highest level of spiritual striving, equating it with the most challenging form of jihad. So in essence, speaking truth to power is the ultimate act of faith.
It highlights the importance of standing up for justice, even when it's difficult, even when it's risky, even when it means challenging those in authority. It's a reminder that our faith isn't just about rituals and prayers, but about embodying our values in the real world, about speaking truth to power, about holding those in authority accountable, and about fighting for what's right, no matter the cost.
It's a call to action, isn't it? A challenge to not be passive bystanders in the face of injustice, but to actively work for a better world, even if it means confronting those who abuse their power or challenging systems that perpetuate inequality and oppression. It's a reminder that silence in the face of injustice is complicity, and that true faith requires courage, conviction, and a willingness to speak truth to power, regardless of the consequences.
You've articulated it beautifully. It's about recognizing that our faith has social and political dimensions, that it calls us to challenge injustice, to advocate for the oppressed, and to work towards creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to live a life of dignity, freedom, and well-being.
These hadiths offer a sobering yet inspiring glimpse into the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. They remind us that we live in a world where darkness and light are constantly vying for dominance, where the forces of good and evil are engaged in a timeless struggle, and where the choices we make, both individually and collectively, shape the course of history.
They offer guidance, warnings, and hope, reminding us that even amidst trials and tribulations, even when confronted with the darkest forces, the human spirit has the capacity to rise above the challenges, to choose the path of righteousness, and to contribute to the betterment of the world.
What a thought-provoking journey this has been. Exploring Sunan Abu Dawud, Book 32, has been like peering into a mirror, reflecting both the potential for darkness and the enduring power of faith, resilience, and the human spirit's yearning for justice and goodness.
It's been an honor to delve into these profound teachings with you. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this exploration of Islamic eschatology. May these prophecies inspire us to live more mindfully, to strengthen our faith, and to contribute to a world where justice, compassion, and truth prevail.
Until next time, may you find peace, guidance, and strength on your journey.